I can't bother tonight.
Chill, bro.
This is what happened when crazy feelings get validated by the girls.
Yeah, and then you make me look
girls out,
stupid.
call them out on their crazy shit.
No.
I feel like this is a boil up. It's a blowover of repressed shit that's happened.
I'm just going to say it. Louder, Ross, louder for those in the back, because I want this video on a loop. The girls in season 7 have really been a menace when it comes to promoting each other stupid. They haven't called each other out. This is why you have Yana suddenly agreeing to be exclusive with someone who has cheated on her twice in the villa. Not even outside the villa, in the villa, he's cheated twice. So the idea that he's agreed to that doesn't make sense. The fact that we now have Gabby calling the guys out and calling their ages out and saying, you are picking on me and I'm only a 21-year-old. Ross is right. Which are you? Are you a boss or a main character, or are you a victim? Which is it? I think she picks and chooses when she wants to sort of play the victim card. I totally agree with that, because if she really wanted to go home, she should have gone to production. She didn't need to tell the girls. She wanted the girls to sort of fear that she might go home and look after her and sort of protect her and shield her. She was never going to go home. She was never going to go home. Am I surprised with the results of the recoupling? No. Dylan, at the end of the day, was going to get that girl, no matter what it took. He was going to work hard, and he grafted. And I think Cody, looking at what was available to her, she was going to go for Dylan because he would give her more to talk about when she leaves the show. I think production wanted Gabby saved. This is why they got Josh to pick her. And Josh, I think, knew that he could get more airtime if he picked Gabby over everybody else. And this is why he went for her. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Australia, Season 7, Episode 26. So we pick up the episode with Gabby still crying. She's upset. She feels the guys are picking on her. They're too grown to be picking on her. It's like, Gabby, if you're such a minor, if you're such a baby, go home. You don't need to be on Love Island. Go and do something else that doesn't include dating, because this is out of your league. We want older people, or we want sort of 26, 27 years old to come on Love Island, because they always bring that age of girl. So for her to call out Ross and say, you're 28 years old, you're almost 30, and it's not it. And I don't understand why Shanna didn't speak up for her guy. She should have said to Gabby, it's not necessary for you to be calling the guys out. There's no need for that. Nick was just answering a question. The question was, who do you think is most likely to go home next? And he picked Gabby because Gabby doesn't have a partner. Because Dylan, from the moment he saw Cody, he was gone. You have Dylan go and pull Cody for a chat. Dylan is not messing about. He really wanted Cody to know that he was interested. He was doing everything within his power to jump ship because Gabby wasn't it for him. So he pulled her for a chat, and they were having this talk about how was the kiss? We've got great chemistry. Do I think she's it for him? Maybe. Sadly, we don't get to see as much airtime of her, so I don't know how much of a couple they'll be. As I said before, I'm biased because I loved Dylan with Sophie, so I don't see him with anyone else but her. But Sophie's moving on. She's got a great guy and she's happy. So if this is going to be his partner, Cody, hopefully it works for him. You then had Ross try and come and apologize to Gabby to say, I'm sorry. We both made comments. You like to make snarky remarks. I make snarky remarks. It was never anything malicious behind my comment. I was just commenting on what was being said. Gabby couldn't take that, so she stormed out of the room. And it's like, why are we encouraging Gabby's nonsense? Why are we encouraging it? Because I think at this moment, this is the time the girls should have called her and sort of said to her, Gabby, what you're doing is unacceptable. You can't continue to sort of blame the guys for your mistakes, because she started complaining that I feel attacked, you're part of my problem because you ruined my experience, just like Jothan. He ruined my experience. And it's like, Jothan didn't ruin the experience. You stole Jothan from Lacey, and somebody else came and stole Jothan from you because he's one of the greater guys in the villa. So the idea that you are now offended, I don't get it, and I don't understand why you're sort of playing the victim card in this. I love that Jothan tried to come and console her, and she wasn't having it. So she then went out and sort of called the guys out. She called out Mick, she called Ross, she called Dylan, she called out their ages, and she said, you shouldn't be picking on me. I'm just a 21-year-old. And they were right to say, she wants to blame everybody else for her mistakes. Why? She made the mistake, and so we're just calling her out on it. If we make mistakes, then she needs to call out us out on it, and not just sort of be going around in circles. And I think Dylan, because he saw it spiraling and he knew how he would be portrayed as a result of what Gabby was saying, he then sort of pulled Gabby aside to have a chat with her in the teepee. And the guys were sort of saying, he's de-escalating the situation, is de-escalating, because it was never going to end. It was going to continue to go in circles. So Dylan had a chat with Gabby, and Gabby was saying, Mitch upset me because he said, I'm going to be dumped next because nobody will like me. Now that I don't have a partner, you now have a new partner. And it's like, Gabby, we all know that Dylan has liked this girl from the moment he saw her. So the idea that you're pretending as though you didn't know it doesn't make sense. She was complaining, you're giving me mixed signals, you don't talk to me, and then when we get into bed, you suddenly are all over me, so I don't understand. And it's like, what do you think, Gabby? If he is doing that, then you need to do the same. Sadly, you can't go back to Jotham because you exploded that part, and Jotham, I don't think, is willing to take you back. So you now have to sort of work on somebody else. Otherwise, this is not going to work. And I didn't understand why. In the meantime, you had Ross in the kitchen, sort of calling out the girls and saying, this is what happens when you're all validating somebody's bad habits, because you are not calling each other out. You should be calling each other out. You should be correcting one another. And I think had the girls called out Gabby when she was spiraling about the Jotham situation, and had Gabby sort of gone back to Jotham and had a more sort of civilized conversation, they would have been possibly a chance of them rekindling. But because none of the girls corrected her and she kept spiraling, she kept calling him names, she kept doing ABCD, this is why she blew up her own spot. And now everybody else is trying to make her out into being a victim. And Ross said she's got a victim mentality. Yeah, I have to agree with him. I'm sorry. What I love is after trying to console Gabby and Gabby not being receptive, Jonathan then went and was busy playing with his partner. And it's like, Jonathan is really that person that when he's in a couple with someone, he focuses on that couple. We've seen him with Jade all the time. He hasn't gone back to anyone else. He's, every time he's moved on and he hasn't looked back. When he left Lacey, he did the same thing. Now he's left Gabby, he's doing the same thing. For Jade to say she can't see, the L word being said, I think so. But she has to be mindful of what she does. Otherwise, Jonathan, he's that type of guy that once he's done with you, he doesn't look back, and she might be, left in tears. Emma and Josh going for a chat, I didn't quite get it. Because I think Josh was interested in Emma up until they got into bed and he saw what Emma was doing with Mick, and this is why he was put off. Yes, there was an age gap. I think there's a 3-year age gap. That might as well have been another factor. And they spoke about kids, how many kids they want and whatever. And I think at that time, Josh still had hope and still had the idea that he could easily couple up with her. But then going to bed, he realized that actually she might not be as into him, and she's made out. All the islanders got ready for bed. Obviously, Yana and Kai were excited to be going to bed. And it's like, Yana seriously has shown herself on TV and is going to struggle to find a great guy when she breaks up with Kai, because everyone has seen her be played and they've seen how easy it is to play her, and they're going to play her. All the islanders get into bed. Poor Josh sleeps on the couch, and he could actually see Mick and Emma making out in bed. And I think this is when he realized that she's just playing him. She's just playing him because she wants security, because she's worried that Mick might go to somebody else. But he did, it doesn't seem like she really liked him as much as she was saying she does. In the morning, you had the guys having a chat. You had Gabby go for a conversation with Josh. Gabby and Josh, I don't see it. I know, I really don't. I think they share the same values. Yes, they have similarities in the sense that they both come from big families. He's the third child, she's the last child. Their family setup is more or less the same. And so they seem to have great banter. But do I see it as being romantic? No. I think Gabby likes the guys that she likes. She likes the Jothans. She likes Dylan. She likes Alex. And I don't think this is her type of guy. So do I see them having a future? I don't think so. I really don't. I think there are two people who are going to couple up for the convenience, but I don't see it lasting long term. You then had the rest of the islanders just hanging around and the villa, and they were just chatting, and a text came in. Receive a message, islanders. Sometimes a little tension can lead to a lot of love. There's been plenty of tension. Now bring on the love. Yana and Kai, you'll be leaving the villa shortly for a date you'll never forget. Hashtag no stress, no flex. Hashtag love conquers all. This is what I think. I think Yana and Kai got the winners edit. I think production really wanted to give it to Ross and Sean, but sadly, Movie Night portrayed her in a very negative light, and so they couldn't do that for Sean. And I think Sean has had a lot of negativity with how they've treated the bombshells, and this is why production have decided to give this to, well, not production, the superfans have decided to give the date to Kai and Yana. It doesn't make sense why they would go on this date. They went on the date and they were busy having a conversation. Kai looked like he was reading from a script. He really did. You know, our communication is bad. Being here has been good for us. Yana kept yapping, oh, yes, it's been good. You know, we've been able to learn from our mistakes. And it's like, how many more mistakes did he need? The first time he went into the bathroom with Lacey and realized you were not having it, he should have stopped. But he still did the same with another bombshell. Had he not been called out, had he not seen the backlash from the other couples or the other islanders, he would have continued to do the same thing. So the idea that you feel like he's learned from his mistakes, only you feel like that, Yana. Nobody else feels like that. And we all don't understand why you continue to give him chance after chance after chance, unless you're doing it for the publicity. I feel like production, when islanders come onto the show, they sort of have an idea of who they want to sort of couple up and promote as a couple. One, they also have an idea of who they want to move on to other shows. I would not be surprised next season to either see Gabby on Love Island UK or Love Island Games. I'm going to predict that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So I don't know. Back at the villa, you have Matteo have a conversation with Cody. I didn't understand that chat. I really didn't, because I don't see where the chemistry was. Well, they seemed to chat. They talked about her tattoos and what she wants in a partner. I personally feel like that was done by production because they wanted it to seem like she had an alternative to Dylan. They didn't want to make it very obvious that she was going to pick Dylan, because otherwise it doesn't make sense why she spoke with this guy. There's no chemistry there. They said they had good banter. You can have good banter with anyone, but I didn't see, Cody in any realm picking this guy. It didn't make sense. Josh and Tamara went for a chat. Tamara sadly closed herself to a lot of people when they came into the villa because she thought she was safe with Matteo. I think she thought Mick, she did exactly what Lacey did, but she did it in a sly way, in the sense that she thought that Mick was going to come back for her, and Mick never came fighting for her. And so she was stuck with Matteo, and it was too late for her to sort of turn around and look for somebody else, because there was nobody that was going to be her type, or nobody else seemed interested in her. And so for her to have a conversation with Josh, they had great chemistry, they had great chats. Do I think they would have made a good couple? I don't think so. I think it's just he felt like home. There was the security of the fact that they come from the same sort of background or same country, but I don't think romantically there was anything there. Kai and his little present seemed more surprised than I was. At the end of the day, it seemed like production did it for him and then just gave him the little box and said, okay, here you go, give this to her and ask her to be exclusive. For him to say, I've learned my lesson, I want to be exclusive, do I buy it? No. Yana, this is what she wanted. Him, no, I don't think so. I feel like she really wanted to take this guy back and decided to bring him on the show, hoping that bringing him on the show would sort of corner him and he would end up sort of proposing this idea of them being exclusive and rekindling, plus the clout that came from it. Otherwise, them being as a couple doesn't make any sense. For them to come back to the villa and narrate what happened, Yana was ecstatic. She couldn't stop talking, and I love that Tamara was saying Kai is not going to be giving as much detail as Yana, and he didn't. He did speak about the little thing that he gave her for her arm, but everything else, it seemed like they were pulling teeth, and so I don't get what's so special about them being exclusive. Even the date, they've dated outside. Yana had to keep repeating, yes, we've been on other dates outside, but this felt different, this felt special. Okay, he's already asked you to be his girlfriend, so what's so special about him asking you now? Nothing. The islanders got ready for the night, and were just hanging around the villa. You had Mick do the toast, and he sort of, because he had already said he's happy that Kai has grown, and Kai now has decided to be exclusive with Yana. So he gave the toast and said, to our exclusive couple, do I buy it? No, I really don't. So the islanders, after the toast, then went and sat in their little groups. You had, Cody and Josh have a conversation about their chats and who they were likely to pick. They both said they were undecided. They didn't know who they were going to pick. I already knew that she was going to pick Dylan because she seemed to like Dylan and really, Dylan was really interested in her. And sadly for Matteo, I don't think he's that guy. And I think it's time for him to go. Josh was saying he's conflicted. He initially liked Emma, but it felt like Emma was giving him mixed signals. He already said this to Tamara, so his only top two were Gabby and Tamara. Do I think he was ever going to pick Tamara? No, I don't think so. I think Tamara hoped he would pick her because they come from the same country and save her from the man she was in a couple with, but I don't think that was going to happen. Anyway, the islanders receive a text message to gather on the fire pit, and Gabby's dress. Given the way she called out, Jade when Jade first walked into the villa, you'd expect her to dress better. But anyway, I digress. Sophie Monk came out. She revealed that there were two new bombshells, and it was time for them to couple up. First, they started off with Cody. Cody coupled up with Dylan. Dylan was ecstatic. He couldn't even hug Gabby to say goodbye. He was happy to have left that couple. I think he wasn't happy, but he was going to make do until the end or until he was dumped. So they were both happy that they were chosen each other. And it makes sense that Cody would want to pick Dylan over Matteo because Dylan, at least, he's not main character, but I think romantically should like him. The fact that Dylan said, oh, even in the real world, this is who I'll date. Okay, it is what it is. You had next up Josh. Josh, gave his little speech and then he chose Gabby. I feel like production told him who to pick, or he decided to be strategic and pick someone he knew would get him a lot of airtime or a lot of clout or would get him a lot of storylines to talk about once he left the show. Because Tamara is very boring. She doesn't come with anything or she doesn't bring anything to the table. So I think that was a better choice for him if he's after clout. That's my opinion. Anyway, it was an okay episode. I expected to find out who was being dumped. I'm willing to put money on it. It's going to be Matteo. If it's a couple, it's Matteo and Tamara. I don't see them dumping Meg because I think a lot of people like Meg, and I don't think they're going to dump Jocelyn and Jade because a lot of people like them. The three girls are going to try and stick together, but sadly they're going to be outnumbered in my opinion. Anyway, I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 25. Bye everyone.